Hello and welcome. I am, of course, the Restless Kaiser.
And I'm Mira Manga.
But together we are Modeling for Advantage.
Oh, Robbie, I've messed this up. I've got a double
Pro, like a pro mirror. Beautiful.
Let me
All right.
double sound out. I've ruined it already.
So, early adopters tonight, we've got Alan Roberts representing the Welsh nation, pinning 28 Napoleonic Spanish guerrillas for a bit of sharp practice. Sounds good. Tony Halton is here. Mira Manga is here. Who knew? Flyin, is that one of yours?
It's one of mine.
Yeah. Did I say it right? Is it Flyin?
I think Flyin will be happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. 28 Mil says hello. Thomas says hello. David Walton. Mira Manga again. Callum Finlayson.
Hi, Callum.
Aztec Jaguar.
Hey, Aztec.
And a fatal paper cut. So those are our super keen, enthusiastic. Good to see. Oh, slipping in just at the end there. Ian
Millington Davies. What a name.
I know, right? That's quite the name.
Can I just apologize for messing up the beginning? Anyone who watches my channel will know that's standard. I always leave some microphone on, but can we do that modeling for advantage thing again? Because that's really cool. So do the thing again.
I'm not sure that recovering dignity at this point is going to... I mean, what happens if you mess it up again?
Oh, come on. Okay, I'll start. I'm Mira Manga.
But together we are modeling for advantage.
Woo!
Like a pro. Like a pro. I've got to say, I've done, I don't know, maybe 100 streams. Nobody has messed that up yet. Just no judgment. No judgment.
I want to be special.
So, Mira, why don't you tell the beautiful people at home who you are and what it is that you do?
Okay, hello everybody. I'm very lucky to be on Modeling for Advantage. I think it's because I have a very tiny YouTube account where we talk about the Black Library books and loads of geeky stuff like Dune and Mordheim and Dungeons and Dragons, and I interview people, lots of authors, but generally any interesting nerds. I interviewed my friend Josh, who appeared in series 3 of The Witcher. But yeah, I'm just a real big geek. I love this hobby. I love meeting new people, and I love chatting and interviewing and being interviewed, all that good stuff. So that's, I guess, why I'm here. Yeah, please, if you like what you see, just do a like and subscribe on my channel. And even if you don't like it, just do it to be charitable. Is that okay?
There we go. And as you mentioned, we'll talk about that in a moment, but we actually met through a charity, and very recently. Mira's been extremely modest there. She's got 7,000 subs, I think, when I checked, which within our little niches, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's a lot of love from a community that's already completely spoiled with amazing streamers already.
Right.
So it's amazing, yeah.
All right. Well, just to put you more ill at ease, I have prepared a little quiz so that we can test your sci-fi credentials. All right. So if you're like a true pro, I mean, you've got the t-shirt, but does that mean anything?
I mean, I designed this t-shirt and Louise Sugden said she really liked it. So you can buy this from my Redbubble. I'm hoping that I ace this quiz and you will be proud of me. Let's see.
Okay. Scores will be taken. Question 1. Favorite Star Trek series?
The Next Generation. I mean,
TNG. Oh, you're deeply judged by this.
Well, listen as well. Hang on, I'll get up for this. My favorite character of all time, Will Wheaton.
Dying inside, Mira.
Who actually, when I was recovering from a really full-on jaw operation, my friend, the comic book artist Jamie McKelvey, was working with Will Wheaton, and Will Wheaton sent me a little email saying, "Get well soon. I've had surgery too." So I've loved him since I was 11.
Right.
So
he's such an annoying character in that show. The correct answer there was obviously OG Star Trek, but not.
Damn it!
And the score goes down the newer the series is. That whatever the heck that one is.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite classic Trek crew member then?
Classic Trek crew member, Shirtless Kirk.
Shirtless Kirk.
Shirtless Kirk. Fight the alien, stripped to the vest. Come on.
Oh, mine would have to be Uhura or Spock. Leonard Nimoy, the grumpiest man in the world. But yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got for me. I love Spock. I
Yeah.
love Leonard Nimoy. But he's got such a strong Tom Baker Doctor Who vibe.
Yeah.
It's like he's the same character in a lot of ways. You know, he's yeah, like you mentioned, the grumpy, arrogant, all of those elements.
Yeah.
Kind of got my fill of that from Tom Baker. And Spock is great though.
Who's your favorite Doctor Who?
Come on, the bouffanted John Pertwee. Who else?
Okay, I'm
A middle-aged man with a lady's hairstyle that can be an action hero, swashbuckling and wrestling.
Great velvet jackets, the ruffles. Okay.
Oh, beautiful. It's magnifique.
Guess who my favorite Doctor Who is?
I know, because I've heard you say on the show.
Have you?
Have you mentioned it at some point? It's Peter Davidson, isn't
Yeah.
it? You like the plain, dull, simple-looking one.
He's not plain and dull. He has celery in his top pocket.
He's also followed around by Tegan, who may be the worst assistant ever in terms of irritation.
That was my father's favorite assistant, and my brother named his first.
Well, I can tell you why that would be.
I know why
the
that is.
miniskirt and the boob tube.
Yeah.
Interesting story. What's her name? Janet. Oh gosh.
Janet Street Porter. No.
No. Her name. Gosh. Because she's still around. I mean, she appeared in one of the recent ones, didn't she? She's quite old now. And she was a friend of a colleague of mine.
Oh,
and we have quite a Doctor Who following in my school because I encourage that, obviously. And I became aware of this, and it's like, you've got to come in and talk on International Women's Day. And she'd fallen off her bike the day before, and she's all like 2 black eyes because she'd landed face first. So it's this small elderly woman who'd been in Doctor Who like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Talking to a room full of kids. New Doctor, it was in David Tennant time. The new Doctor Who, they were really excited. But what was interesting is what I didn't know about her is she'd gone on to work in, the acting guilds. She was the chairman of like a women's advocacy group for years about women's roles and rights in TV and film. She'd had a really interesting career, and she works for a small charity now as its ambassador. Janet Fielding, thank you, Mr. Aztec Jaguar. And she's just someone who had like a really interesting post-Doctor Who career and made a real difference in the lives of many people.
Oh, and isn't it great when people you love turn out to be good people? It's so nice.
Yeah, but a room of like 12, 13-year-old kids thinking like, of the David Tennant, Matt Smith running Doctor Who, very young cast, very high energy. Seeing this like tiny, quite elderly woman talking on a stage to hundreds of them, and they were silent because she was talking about the TV and film industry.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. Oh, I had a really strong message. That was question 1. Well done. You got it wrong. So, question 2. This one should be easy for you now, Mira. Your favorite Star Trek captain?
Oh no, I'm scared of what I'm going to get it wrong. Well, I know your favorite Star Trek. So if I want to win the quiz, I will say William Shatner's Kirk, topless. But
topless Kirk, yeah, okay.
But I love a bit of Janeway, and I do love Jean-Luc.
Okay,
so much.
Correct answer was Jean-Luc Picard, because although original Star Trek is better and Kirk is the best in it, Picard's a much better captain.
Yes. Did you watch any of the Picard stuff?
No, because you have to pay for that, and I won't watch legal TV full of bookmakers adverts and Ukrainian girlfriend stuff. It's not for me.
Fair enough.
Janeway, though, you don't find her irritating? Clearly not. You like her.
I liked seeing she was tough and she stuck to her guns, and for me, one day I'd love to be a starship captain, and look, there's someone that looks like a girl, and I could do that too.
I mean, she did look like a girl, I guess. Yeah.
But I have to say, Deanna Troi from The Next Generation, I was so proud of her because Marina Sirtis obviously is a Brit. So yeah,
she is a big Spurs fan, I think.
Is she?
Yeah, I saw her. Was it Destination Star Trek at the Excel Gone back 5 or so
Oh my
years.
goodness. I haven't been to a Star Trek convention in so long. I must get to one.
You got to
There's
get dressed up though, Mira. You got to.
oh yeah, I've got plenty of Star Trek
Wrath of
cosplay.
Khan uniform is the correct one. Just so you know, that's not
Is
one of the
it?
quick questions.
Have
They're
you
the
got
best
that?
ones.
I've only got I've got a Nurse Chapel and I've got some TNG and that's it.
Right. Okay. Nurse Chapel. Is that just a light blue T-shirt?
I think it's on one of my videos somewhere. I'll have to look it up.
Is it?
Somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, Janeway. And I was never comfortable with her. She was quite intimate with her staff. I think far more so than the other captains, and I know they probably were trying to make it seem a bit different. But she had a very odd relationship with Seven of Nine, which was a lot more intimate than maternal in a lot of ways. I didn't find that. Didn't really like that. No, that's my view anyway.
I'll tell you what my view that I get in the most trouble with. I never really got along with Deep Space Nine. I'm still trying to watch it, and that really upsets me.
Breathless Cisco.
Yeah, that really upsets a lot of my someone in the chat says Kirk was intimate with anything he could find.
Indeed, man, woman, or horse. Yeah. Yeah, but it's so vintage science fiction.
Oh, and someone else has said, Shakos and Spruce has said, Cisco punched Q in the face, just saying.
No, he did. And that was his best moment on camera. That was definitely his best moment. Maybe the thing where he was the sci-fi writer and he had these long expository monologues about the history of oppression for Black people in America. But I found that's something that's been done a lot, even in sci-fi. Whereas punching Q, that was very Star Trek.
Yeah.
He said, "I'm not Picard" or something is the line, isn't it? Which I did like. Vintage science fiction, then, Mira.
Okay.
You can't watch it with 21st century sensibility. You can't watch original Star Trek. You can't watch Blake Seven or old Doctor Who with your modern value set as liberal, progressive, and so forth. Because I'm such a Doctor Who fan and I've watched so many people in rubber suits running around in a very bigoted and sexist world that I'm able to divorce myself from its views to some extent, and just take it for what it is and the story. And probably because I was already having to move away from what it actually looked like to just focus on the story. It's like that alien is made out of bubble wrap, and that is not a good look.
Yeah, you had to do a little suspension of belief.
Right. So I found out how do you get on with that? When you look back, I mean, you're pretty sure you mentioned Buck Rogers, right?
Yeah.
That is not a show that holds up in terms of values. How do you deal with that?
Well, the thing I always think about is I've got 3 little nieces that I would do anything for. They're the boss of me. They are my emperors and I just have to obey. And they're 12, 8 and 5 now. So I just feel so happy that they get things like the new version of She-Ra. There are people that they can look up to. There's so much more equality and less sexualization and objectification in sci-fi, because I'm lucky my dad guided me into sci-fi when I was very little and kept me protected from anything too edgy. But I can enjoy it for what it is. I mean, one of my favorite movies is Barbarella. I love Jane Fonda, but looking back at it now, if I was to watch that with a room of friends, I would feel really uncomfortable, because it's just so. And I think I said this to you on my channel. I really strive to keep everything very PG-13 because it's really hard to have anything at all sexualized in a gaming or sci-fi space, because then a lot of people just want to interact in that very way manner, and it's tricky. I mean, I really, really appreciate the art for what it is, and sci-fi was so ahead of its time, obviously, but so creative and niche, and you had to discover it. You had to order special fanzines, and it was a really lovely way to find your tribe when I was younger. And I'm just very happy now when I go to conventions. There's especially Comic-Con, there's such a bigger mix. Obviously, Salute, where you and I were hanging out, is still predominantly men, but there is space in the hobbies and in the sci-fi space for women now, and I think that's super important.
Yeah, well, talking like you say, salute. We just come back from there. We get sidetracked. Still got more questions.
Let's do the
But
questions. You're
salute.
too interesting. You're too interesting. That's the problem.
Salute. Then, I mean, that's an incredibly male space.
Yeah.
We were just there. How how do you find that then? What's that? What is that? Is that an awkward experience? I mean, are you just so used to it now? When you go to these spaces, you know it's going to be full of. It's going to look like a real ale festival in terms of its
Yeah.
clientele. That's just how that is.
I mean, I'm really lucky. So I went to Star Trek and sci-fi conventions from being a little with my dad, and my dad had a group of middle-aged friends with women who would who'd take me along. So when I started coming into the Salute, it was a good few years ago. I want to say like 2015 or before even. And I went with members of the Hate Club, which is Hackney Area Tabletop Enthusiast Club. And they're a very, very progressive, inclusive club. No, no right wingers, no Nazis allowed. Like, a safe space for everybody, really inclusive. And they are really buildy, loud, shouty war gamers. But I was able to go with them and feel very protected and hang out with them. And I even used to wear my club t-shirt. But I remember wandering around and seeing very questionable models, So maybe I'm going shopping for minis and there's a bunch of like statuettes or minis of like women in horrible situations, grimdark situations, sexual situations.
Yeah.
And then you're like standing there trying to buy something from someone with a pair of boobs in your face. And it's really freaking awkward. But I mean, you and I were there. I was working on the games therapy stand and it just seems a little less hardcore
Right.
now. And
Right.
there's people around there. Like we had Bad Squidoo was there, Annie, who's
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
and
absolutely. I mean, she's
they,
made a space for her, and she's pretty much a women-only company. As
yeah,
wherever possible, she will, like her painters and
yeah,
all that
yeah,
kind of stuff, or the commission. She
yeah,
she tries to get find those women that are in the hobby looking for work and
yeah.
give them that work. And she's a self-made woman in that respect.
Yeah, and we had
Um,
slogs there, and people were coming to say hello and saying nice things about my content, which I would never dream someone would come and say something nice. But I felt really at home and comfortable, especially representing our charity as well. So
yeah,
I mean, I think the trick to all of this really is the Restless Kaiser. Just find the good folks and be with them.
yeah,
And as long as you surround yourself with friends at these conventions who want you to be there and will stick up for you if anything goes wrong, it's all good. And
yeah.
I'd never want my nieces not to be able to go somewhere or enjoy something. So yeah, I think yeah. We'll see what you saw. Well, I had to come off the internet for 3 days, 2 or 3 days, because of all the furore. I don't know if I pronounced that word correctly about female custodies.
Really, you just didn't feel that you should comment or get involved in that?
Well, there was so much. My algorithm showed me so much hate on my Twitter, and I could see my friends were doing some really good statements, and then they were getting some really horrible responses. And I just thought it makes me scared and sad because I suffer from anxiety. And it makes me think bad things like, people are going to come after me or people are going to start swearing and shouting at me on my live. And so I just thought, just switch off. So
I
it's like,
just don't get why people care that much. I really don't.
I
I,
don't
I'm,
feel like, do they think we're going to take something away? Because we're not. It's just like there'll be more for everybody, but I don't know. But
yeah,
it's quite scary because I'm really scared of I have had a few individuals that I've just had to kind of, they say things really, yeah. So I just got scared.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's move on to the next question on a lighter note then.
Yay!
So, obviously, we've had some indication of what good answers might look like in the chat to this next
Yeah.
one. So, your favorite non-Star Trek TV show or franchise? I'm saying TV show because everyone's likely to be familiar with them. Whereas when
Wow.
we're talking about books and things that you can go into places that people have never heard of.
I have to choose. So okay.
I mean, you could go for top 3, which might include more than 3. I don't know. Like my
Okay.
top 5 movies have got at least 10 movies in it.
I think one of my favorite things that carried me through really bad breakup and lockdown was The Expanse.
I've not seen that yet. Tell me why I should watch The Expanse.
Well, firstly, it's some of the best written space opera sci-fi books I've read. Fantastic books by, I believe it's S.A. Corey, which is 2 writers. Phenomenal writing. Secondly, it's like a hard sci-fi,
Right.
done with a lot of humor and some great acting, and it's just fantastic. Really loved it. I also recently really, really loved Fallout. Fallout, which is
Oh, the new thing about the Vault
yes,
Dwellers and stuff.
yes, because my first thing in streaming was I streamed Fallout 4 and I got my Twitch account going. And
Right.
the other things I really, really loved are a couple of German-made things on Netflix. One is called Dark, and the other one, which
I've
is made.
started that a few times. I've
Yep,
started that a few times. It's slow starting, it like really slow
it's
starting.
slow starting, and then when you leave, your brain will be dribbling out of one ear. And the follow-up to that is called 1869. I've got the year completely wrong, but that was fantastic as well. But
Is
The
that the thing on a
Expanse,
ship?
yes,
I
yes.
started that as well, and it
Oh,
was just like, oh, do you know what?
you have
I
to
think it's
listen
because
to
I
it.
watched that when I watch sci-fi with my wife while we eat. It's something we
Oh,
sort of do together. We work so series that work well for us. So I'm like, we're watching the 3rd season of Resident Alien at the moment because it's funny. You don't have to pay a lot of attention.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
it's happening. Something that you don't have to. So we've been trying to watch the 3 Body Problem. It's like I've got to concentrate.
I really hated the books. I really struggled. The books are the concept is like, I'm GCSE maths C group,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like studying stats and magical numbers at freaking Oxford. So even though I did struggle with the books, I watched I think, was there a Korean series? And I watched the UK series. Still don't get it, but have to be in it. Have to be in it because it's my people.
Everyone's talking about it. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So you still haven't said, have you? Or your favorite? Oh no, you said The Expanse. That's what you're going to go with.
I think I'll plump for The Expanse.
You're going to pump for The Expanse. The correct answer had been referenced in the chat. It's Babylon 5, which got not a single word out of you.
Babylon
What are
5.
you hating on Babylon 5, Mira?
I struggled with it so much. I think it was whenever we.
Well, it was lovely to meet you anyway. And next week we'll be having.
No. Oh no, no! It was because for me it was very, very political. It was a lot of like ambassadorial. I can't speak tonight. It was a lot of talking, and I don't know. It just didn't grab me, and I missed it the first time around. There was one very, very funny thing where the security man, who's called Garibaldi, is that his
Mm,
name? The
yes.
American Bruce Willis, they have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
find out what his password is, and it's something like Fluffy Bunny or Fluffy Teddy. And I like that bit, but yeah, I think I found it a bit dark for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a
Wasn't
bit
The
of a.
Expanse a bit dark?
It was. I don't know how I watched that. Maybe it was
Yeah.
because there was a detective in it, and I love a noir. I love a noir. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I do. One of my favorite detectives is, Philip Marlowe,
Right.
the the Long Goodbye and all that kind of like, yeah.
Great. I mean, we're completely ignoring chat because they all got their own views, of course.
Oh yeah,
So,
what's the chat saying? Oh,
well,
that
one of the things, Battlestar Galactica,
that
where
was
you the
good.
original or the new one?
The new one was good, but it fell off the ending. I was like, what? But it was great.
It was a season too long, like many shows that have done
Yeah.
well, I think.
And they had Xena, the warrior princess, came in it for a bit. Lucy
Did she?
Lawless. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I remember anyone throwing like bangles and making funny noises. Yeah. Was she a bit of a hero? Yeah, original Battlestar Galactica. If you haven't watched it,
Yeah.
first season pretty good. Second season, I don't know what happened. They were just like, this has gone bonkers.
Oh my God, Dirk Benedict as what's his name? Starbuck. Hello. And face, wow. Gosh, I'm so
Well,
old.
there we go. There we go. So, that's where we're Battlestar Galactica. A lot of love for Babylon 5 as well, of course, except for the visual. I mean, it's its age.
Yeah,
It's the earliest that you were seeing widespread CGI, so it's not going to age well. It
no.
really isn't. At the time, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Certainly my memory. Right, Mira, given the fact that you've got manga in the title, manga, obviously all true manga features giant robots. But in the
Yes.
giant robot mecha fight, is it melee or is it range combat?
Oh man, it's got to be melee. But
Good, that is the first correct answer you got. It's got to be melee.
but you
It's
know,
got to be melee.
my thing is, everyone on my channel is like, when are you going to paint? And I'm dreading it because I'm terrible. But if I get my hands on a Titan, like one of the ones in the Titan Owners Club, I will paint a Titan, and then I'm going to take it to Warhammer World and play
You
my
mean like
first.
an actual, like, 4-foot tall resin thing? Just buy the Adeptus Titanicus ones, girl.
No, the ones, you know what, opposite our
This
stand
big.
at Salute. No, I want the ones that are like that big.
The ones on the floor at Salute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to take it, and then I'll be my Warhammer 40k army, and I'll play one game.
Right.
And then, yeah. I love Titans so much.
Yeah,
so
the game's
much.
rubbish anyway, Mira. You're not missing anything there. You got so far. You got one correct answer. Favorite Primarch. Then let's go. As we talked about Warhammer, favorite, but there's only one right answer here, of course.
This is really hard.
It's not. No. If you are a right-thinking person who understands you're wearing a green t-shirt, there's a tip for you there.
Oh God, this is really hard because I'm only learning about the Primarchs through Heresy, and I'm only up to Tales of the Heresy, so I haven't had a really full big introduction to all of them.
Did you say a full introduction there?
A full introduction, yeah. Okay. But oh my gosh, oh flipping heck! I can't believe I'm saying this, but I do have a campaign to save Fulgrim, because basically it's not his fault that he got tricked and taken into a snake temple, and then they got a demon put up him. So
right, and everything he did after that point is all fine.
Well, the thing is it him or is it the demon that's taken over him? So
you've got to believe in free will in all of this, otherwise there's no space for temptation, Mira.
Well, don't tell me about any spoilers, because I haven't read The End of the Death, and I'm trying really hard not to spoil. But I do believe, very good Sub-Commandant Hey 73, I do believe that the ending should have been a redemption where they got the demon out of Fulgrim and he turned around and he was a goodie. But
how much have you read? Warhammer 40k is not somewhere you're going to find redemption. That is not the nature of the Grimdark.
Maybe one day I'll persuade Dan Abnett. I'll say,
to write a book about redemption.
Can you do a dream sequence where they're all nice?
He's a commissioned writer. He writes what they ask him to write. I know. Oh, he may be good, but he writes the story they ask him to write. Yeah.
So if I'm saying at the moment it's Fulgrim because I feel sorry for him and I want him to have a redemption arc, it's definitely not Lionel Johnson.
No, I mean, it's a man with many names. Lionel Johnson, Lionel Richie is my personal favorite.
Yeah. Who's your favorite Primarch?
Well, the one true Primarch is obviously Mortarion, clearly. All right thinkers would know. Papa Nurgle is the path to happiness and joy.
And who are his legion?
The Death Guard. Or the Dirt Guard when I'm playing them.
Yeah. Okay, well, agree to disagree.
Yeah, but it's my quiz.
I know I'm losing. I'm doing so badly.
You've only got the multiple choice question correct so far, Mira.
Oh my God.
So I'm going to offer you a bonus question to redeem yourself, right? As a pro streamer yourself.
Thank you for saying that.
And you've learned from many other pro streamers.
Yeah.
In the stream space, is it trousers or PJs?
PJs.
It's PJs every time. That is the correct answer.
All day, every day. Yay, PJs.
I'm at home. Of course, I'm wearing PJs rather than trousers.
Yes, absolutely.
So you get 1, 2.5 points out of 6.
Wow, that's pretty bad.
Some may say that the quiz was a little bit rigged. I think that the answers were all empirical.
It is making me think I might watch a classic Trek before bed tonight.
Oh, that won't make you think any better of
it. No, which one will I choose if I watch one? I know what.
Well, the best one is the Guardian of Forever one, you know, in terms of like fan rankings.
Yeah.
Well, I
I
can't
like
remember what it's called. The one with
what's the one where they something happens and the whole
something
crew
happens.
a
Wow.
thing happens. It's where Kirk is sped up and the rest of the crew is normal speed. A blink of an eye or something it's called. I love that.
Oh yeah, yeah. And there's a whole planet of people, and a handful of people they're out of sequence or something.
Yeah. I thought that blew my mind as a little one.
That's one of the later ones, isn't it? Yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
clever, that one. No, but the one on the time travel one with not Jane Fonda. Gosh, is it? Yeah,
Oh,
it's good. And Mirror Universe, bearded Spock. There you go.
yeah.
Yes, Mirror.
Trouble with Tribbles. Yes, of course.
There are
Yay.
many correct answers here. This should have been the question for. There is City on the Edge of Forever says 28 mil.
This is my almost Tribble. It's a unicorn. And
Almost
look
triple.
at it. Look at this. Ta-da! Color changing unicorn.
That is amaze balls. I mean, I don't know. It's not very happy.
No.
Has it got a different expression? Is that happy versus grumpy?
Yeah.
There we go.
Let's put the happy one back. But I went to a Star Trek exhibition and they had like a 6-foot Tribble in the lobby. I love Tribbles. I should get a Tribble toy.
You should get Tribbles. Star Trek cons are full of people selling Tribbles.
I know. You're really making me want to get back all my Star Trek stuff up.
Yeah. Well, it's just such an iconic piece of science fiction in contemporary culture, isn't it?
Thank you so much for inviting me. This is so nice. This is lovely that you prepared all that for us. That's so nice.
I was writing these questions while we were doing the pre-show, if you recall. I've been thinking about them. Yeah, all right. It was just for a bit of fun. But I thought it would sort of maybe structure the conversation a little bit more than anything else. Get us going. Because we actually have barely met.
I know. And I'm so glad I did meet you because I was at Salute. So my shift with our stand started at midday. And that morning I was so anxious. I was shaking and I didn't want to go. And I was going to call in sick and I kind of threw up. I was so nervous. And then I got up. Yeah, because I just get these only recently, only in the past couple of years, I just get this overwhelmed, scared feeling. And I made myself get down there because I love Gary. I love our charity and I wanted to be there and support. And then you were one of the just lovely people. You were so natural when you came and said hello, really smiley. And so it was you, Gary, the people on the stand and those lovely people that came up. And that really helped me think, and then from like 2 o'clock onwards, I think I had the loveliest time. So it was a real serendipity.
It starts to thin out a bit by 2 o'clock as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It is mad how much. So a pro salute tip is don't go first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
They're queuing halfway down the Excel Center at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
At 11 o'clock, they're on queuing. And at 1 o'clock, there's a quarter of the number of people in there. It's a totally different show in the afternoon.
Yeah. But
I much prefer that.
There were lots of lovely people there, and I include you in that. So that was lovely.
Well, thank you. So you mentioned you said our charity a few times. I mean, it's not literally our charity; it's Charity Has Spot. So why don't you? We've not had Gary on yet. We've talked about it, but tell the people a little bit about the charity that we support.
Yeah. So I met this lovely chap Gary because he was writing a comedy Dungeons and Dragons panel show called Dorks and Orcs. So I was doing a bit of comedy writing in his comedy room, and he mentioned I was a trustee for the charity No More Damsels, which was all about making gaming spaces safer for women and people who aren't boys to come into gaming spaces. Sadly, that folded. So Gary told me about his charity, Games Therapy UK. Now, what that is they've done this academic research into how games such as Dungeons and Dragons can really help people with mental health issues, or even just to get through a rough time. So they were trying to find ways to take this out to work with veterans and play games with veterans or displaced people or, SEN students and stuff. And it's a really beautiful marrying of two things I'm really passionate about. One is bringing gaming out to wider audiences and making it a safe space to play in. And the other is gaming for healing and looking after mental health. Because I think, especially after COVID, we've become quite a wobbly nation and there's lots of worries out there. So our charity gives people the opportunity to go and immerse themselves make new friends and connect through these characters for maybe 3 or 4 hours. And I just think that's lovely.
And they're doing so. I'm not you. So you came in a very different route than I did. They started up a new subcommittee about schools, libraries, and clubs. So they've done work with veterans. They do work with the homeless, and they they're pretty serious about it. So they have like trained therapists and professional GMs kind of cross training and going into these spaces. I mean, a lot of what Gary seems to be doing at the moment is organizing training for people on things like PTSD. It's like, if you're going to work with these people, you're going to need to do some of this, that, and the other. So yeah, I recently got involved with it to do with about school libraries and clubs. And one of the things that's quite interesting is they're now pushing into an academic space. They're trying to, not just assemble the space. I was asking Gary about like what I think a lot of stakeholders in schools need, or what a lot of people in schools set up clubs, is we need some kind of infographics with some data on here that we can show head teachers and line managers and say, look, these are the kind of impacts it has. And said, yeah, but the problem is there isn't any evidence out there. There's so much research has been done. So they're now commissioning it. They're now putting teams together. And I think in the library space, we're looking at making a red box for people starting, like the old D&D red box, for people starting clubs in schools that may know nothing about D&D, but other than they've got a load of kids that want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a really wonderful initiative, and if you look on the website, they're really they've got people involved in the charity who are writing papers. As you say, there's a real push to, research and study in this area, because, what do we offer on the NHS here? Talking therapies is CBT, or you can get some pills. Like, if gaming can come in as a resource, let's see what we can do, right?
Yeah, and like anything, it's about having a bit deeper toolbox. If anything, working in a school has told me is that one size does not fit all.
Yeah,
there are many different routes available, and all too often is like, well, this is the proven most effective way, so that's what we're going to do. Saying, yeah, well, what about for the 37% of people that doesn't work for? It's still a big lump of people. We need a range of tools. I know for suddenly from my school time, in terms of engaging with SEN kids around literacy, but also the mentoring key work side of things. Sometimes they just need an adult that they can feel safe, and if you can provide them with a space to explore their hobby, you can build that relationship with them that can transform their feelings about the organization and their desire to be there. Gosh, it was a bit of a lecture of me, wasn't it? Sorry about that.
No, actually, I feel quite emotional, because it's a beacon of hope, and for Gary to kind of put everything. I mean, he's such a busy human, but
yes. Well, the meetings I have are like 2 hours on a weekend.
Yeah, he's so passionate, and what a beacon of light. He's a good egg, is Gary, for putting this together. Yeah, fact.
So that's Game Therapy UK. So in terms of your content, then I don't know if you've said this. Some of the content, the highlights that I picked out. Then, so you do interviews with writers.
Yeah.
You are currently seem to be running a series of reading fighting fantasy books on a live stream on a Sunday. That is such a massive nostalgia hit for me. That was where it. I don't know if that's where it began for me in gaming. So I've quite a funny starting point. I was always interested. I'm old enough. I'm a Hero Quest type person. I was aware of that, and I was into fantasy and things before. But there were other board games in that kind of space. But I was like that kind of stuff, and I got given the D&D Red Box when I was very, very young. Because it was bought for me. Some of the people on the channel have heard this before. My family, there was I grew up in a council estate, working class area in the 70s and 80s. That's my childhood. And so the local pub, they'd put like a penny on the price of the beer for the month leading up to Christmas, so that they bought the kids of all of the families got a couple of
Oh,
fantastic Christmas presents, and they had like a committee of people trying to find. It's like you weren't just going to get a a £10 Argos
yeah.
voucher or something. They were going to find the toy that this kid wanted.
I love
Right?
that.
And for me, so that there was a couple of game shops in town. Somebody got, and they'd come away with a miscellaneous selection of Citadel miniatures and the D&D red box, and it was like the gift I didn't know I wanted. It was
Wow.
fantastic.
That's beautiful.
But either whether it was before that or after that, but it's certainly a similar time, was finding those fighting fantasy books in the public library.
Yeah.
That was that. And that was like when I started to use the request system, realized there's more of these. I want the others.
I think I grew up, I was born in 77. So I
just showing off your relative youth. You get no score for that.
I thought we were similar ages. So
You're similar, but you're definitely younger if you're 77.
okay.
Yeah.
God damn it. When
Don't
will
have this white hair. I'm 70. I'm only 76. Me, I was born. I'm only 48 this year.
I'm cultivating my snowy peaks. Yeah, so my first fantasy books were actually, I feel like there were these Zork books off the computer game or whatever, and the heroes are called Bill and June, but they became Bivitar and Duranda. And then Dad got me all the, all the fighting fantasy books. And they're just great. But we do that stream on a Sunday night, essentially because I get something called the Sunday Scaries, which is the night before going back to work, you can get this this overwhelming feeling of dread, and you've had anyway. So every evening on a Sunday, we all come together and we're silly as possible and just play through these game books. And then a load of us in the chat are like anxious, but we can just talk about silly things. So every game book we've played, we play as though we are a company formed of well inspectors. So any tunnel, we have to go into the tunnel. Any any suspicious water, we have to drink it. So it's a real godsend.
It's interesting how much those books do feature ferreting around in sewerage. And,
sewers, full of sewers. But really, some brilliant writing, some brilliant illustrations in those books, some Games Workshop artists, famous fantasy artists. Oh, all the best people were born in 76.
Can't argue with that.
I can see Thomas has written in the chat, love that giant mug of tea. I was showing you earlier, wasn't I? It's my Lord of the Rings. Yeah. But I love those fighting fantasy books, and we just get everyone together. It feels like a group. I don't make the judge, I don't say we're going east or west. The chat.
You vote on almost every decision, unless you've gone back and you've already made one of the decisions, right?
They made me play a game called Knifey once.
Yes.
And I hated it, but we will do it because they are the bosses.
See your stamina plummeting. That's the thing, that way your experience differs radically from my experience as a kid of those fighting fantasy books, is you're using an e-version of it, and that means you can't cheat.
Well, we found a way to cheat. Do you want to know it?
Oh, I don't have those anyway.
Okay, we found a way to cheat.
You find a way to cheat, because cheating is a key. Having your fingers in 7 different places in those books.
I
mean, part of that experience. Like, am I going left or right? I don't know.
I've still got that grip. I've still got that grip.
Exactly. It's like, well, I don't know. Let me check what happens whichever way I go, and then I'll decide.
No, I used to hate having to roll up and keep track of all the stats as a kid. So I cheated.
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
Really interesting with that, because I used to judge the ones. So there was like the Choose Your Own Adventure series, and they didn't have any of those, and they were a bit often like modern kids having an adventure. But I quickly came to conclude that they weren't like proper ones, game books. But I never did the actual fighting with dice. I just did obviously assume that I win.
We won again.
I'd record equipment, but if it said if you found her, I would certainly check that if I of course.
That's it. On the e things, it knows you haven't found that, so you can't click on that option. So
no, can't even see the difference it would make.
Struggle
absolutely. Remember, and in those, if you spend your money, you run out, and then you need to buy something. You can't just pretend that you didn't buy it.
No, and I always fall for elven characters selling candles. Everyone knows I just fancy elves, so they're like, no.
Somebody might know you.
Hi, Rosie. Hello.
You remember Rosie?
I love it when Lush meets Warhammer. It is very rare it happens, but I did do a video on what Lush products would Fulgrim use. And Fulgrim would love all the purple bath bombs, obviously. Viva la Lush. There are lots and lots of Dungeons and Dragons players in Lush.
There aren't, or there are?
Oh, many. Yeah.
Right. Rosie is my main co-host's partner.
Oh, hello. Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastico. Rosie, I hope you're doing well and thriving.
So, lost my thread now. Blah, 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 blah. Mira, tell us a joke.
What is brown and sticky?
That wasn't the best recovery. Okay,
we're
talking about fighting fantasy. Yes, I would open up a new adventure book and I would look at the character sheet in it and judge whether it was the one I wanted to read, even though I didn't use those elements of the story. And I look back now and I'm thinking, what was my thinking there? I created the complexity that I wasn't using.
One of the challenges where I'm playing these games online is that a lot of people remember the books, or they have the books, and they try and spoil. So they've spoiled. We're in, which ones are we in? Death Trap Dungeon, and someone spoiled me on the first day. They said, don't trust your competitors, and I was so angry. Someone also spoiled that.
That seems like pretty core advice, and they are fellow competitors.
I know, but why would you say that at the very beginning of the book? We could have found that out for anyway. The other thing that someone spoiled me on, we just started reading Legion, and someone was like, "Oh yeah, you know, Alpha Legion have got 2 Primarchs," and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And everyone, they're like, "This lore is 20 years old."
Yeah,
I'm so good.
Mary, you may be the only Warhammer fan that didn't know that. To be fair, knowing that Alfarius is a doppelganger of himself or whatever, he's not. Whatever your spin on that is, that is pretty out there.
But it's mad because my friend Ian, Arbiter Ian, introduced me to Warhammer, and he introduced me with Eisenhorn, and then I thought I would love to read through the Horus Heresy, and he was saying, Mira, you're going to miss loads of. It's like watching the Star Wars prequels without watching the Star Wars main movies, but this is just how we're doing it. It's fine. I'm sure I haven't been. Someone told me another spoiler about Sanguinius, but I'm trying to forget that.
Again, like really famous Warhammer art. I mean, I don't know how you don't know that. Is that Sanguinius? Is he?
I'm an innocent unicorn. Jez Hunt.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to properly blinkers for the things that you're saying you didn't know. Ian Livingston is writing Death. Well, he's like your number one friend, right? He's been on your live show, talks about how marvelous you are. So do you know this to be true? Is he writing Death Trap Dungeon too?
I don't. Ian Livingston, I've only interviewed once, but I am a huge fan of him. But he is Mr. Media trained NDA man. So I think the thing that he alluded to was that he is looking at a very exciting TV project. Now, this
he didn't just allude, he openly talked about it for quite a bit and said, this is like the thing I really want to do.
Yeah. So
that and a board game, oddly. Sorry.
Yeah. So I am speculating wildly about that. But that man is extremely prolific, constantly creative, and just seems to be continually enraptured, absolutely still adores and loves the games. So, and
he's not a young man, is he, by any means?
No, but part of the reason I love interviewing these people, firstly, I really admire them, but you know, the drive, the passion, the inspiration, where does it all come from? How is it formed? How has it formed your life? It's just amazing when people open their brains and let you rummage around. What a privilege. And it just really excites me. It makes me feel hopeful. One day I could create a thing when but yeah.
Yeah. So interviews you've had Dan Abnett on, you've had Ian Livingston. You had Dan Abnett on a few times.
Yeah. So
talking about different books. For those that don't read the Warhammer novels, they're not amazing works of literature. Come on, let's be honest, Mira. But you have to get on with Dan. He's one of the better ones, but definitely.
Yeah, we've had Graham McNeil, we've had James Swallow. I'm talking to Chris Ray on Friday. We've got we've had Tuomas Pirinen, who wrote Mordheim. I just think, I think for an IP to have such quality of writing and so much passion, there's so much need, you know, and then it reflecting like the audiences really respond to it. It's kind of like a phenomenon, really. What other IP has, you know, I mean, I suppose there's loads of Doctor Who and Star Trek books, but I don't know how I got into this space. I'm very bubbly, unicorn, light and love, crystals, you know, niceness kind of girl. And I've just found this way into the Grimdark, but I
But
have
Paul
to,
Grimm is your favorite Primarch, right?
well, only if we save him. But Dan Abnett, I mean,
That's not how Warhammer works. It's
no.
absolutely not how Warhammer works.
If I ever became a billionaire, I might buy Warhammer and make it really nice. What a waste of money. Oh, bye,
Now
Rosie.
then, people will hate on you. Like,
Good.
yeah,
You all have to be nice to each other in the Grimdark. Put down
no
your lady.
way, bro.
But
You're
Dan
ruining my
Abnett,
hobby.
let's just have like Dan Abnett came to I go to this hate club when COVID locked down. I was in a flat by myself, had come through a breakup, and my wargaming club, which I used to go to every Wednesday and some Sundays, completely closed. So I started a book club and we read some Octavia Butler, the Grim Sparkles. That's my band name. That's the name of my album. And we read.
You sing as well, don't you? You sing little intro skits.
Yeah, I sing. But let me finish this quickly. So we did we read a Conan book, we read, you know, and then we read the Dan Abnett book, and a lot of my gaming buddies were really down. So I just spoke to Dan and I said, is there any way you could come and do a book club? We'll keep it private. And he came and talked about Xenos to 40 of us in a Zoom. And I was so grateful. So I sent him a t-shirt and some presents. And he was just so
and
kind.
you have no prior connection to him?
No, but I mean, I think because I was telling him a bit about the book club, so he thought, oh, maybe she has, you know, a good faith person, and maybe it's unusual for a lady to be writing to him. I don't know, but I then asked him to come on my channel. Now it's this weird thing, but I feel like he's been so kind and giving. I feel like I love him in a way. Just he's so generous to us and the fandom. And he always goes above and beyond. And I really miss my dad, who passed away about, I don't know, 12 years ago. And my dad was just so lovely and giving. And that energy, it really reminds me. And I think, you know, somewhere along the line, my dad sorted it out for me to have sci-fi and geek hobbies to carry me through. And you give me lovely things to do in life. And I just would I would take a bullet for Dan Abnett. And I don't know how or why, but he said yes. And because he said yes, other authors think, oh, and I think he makes me a better interviewer, Dan, because he's so interesting. But I love him. Yeah.
I mean, interviewing it's hard. I find, I mean, I'm still learning. I'm so used to being the gobby person in the room, which is why I start. You know, it's like, well, I think I'll be okay at YouTube. I can just talk for an hour. That is not a problem. When you're interviewing someone, it's finding a balance.
Yeah.
I know when I interview some of the kind of industry people, I do get comments that, will you just shut up and let him talk? And I'm like, well,
wow.
Yes and no, because if you let them talk, what you quickly find is they just tell you what they want you to hear.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not interviewing you for you to say what you would say on your channel.
Yeah.
I'm interviewing you to answer that. You know, I am definitely trying to direct the conversation onto what I think the viewers would want to hear. And you can't do that by just sitting back and letting them talk.
I think my biggest criticism of myself is I get overexcited and I, you know, and I ask too many questions at a time. I was just trying to slow down, but you know, I hear what you're saying. And also, Dan, you can ask him one question and sit back and
right.
You know,
So it's just like light up a fag and that go for it, mate.
Okay, go. Yeah.
But
no, I obviously listened to a few of your interviews. It always seems like you've got this bonhomie and a lot of friendship vibes come through your chats. It always feels really friendly and like buddy. I can imagine people enjoy painting because it feels like their mates are in the room. Mira is Dan Abnett's remembrancer. Wow, what a position! I'd love that. But actually, he does I was saying that to him, but he's even doing his own annotated books now. So Dan is doing his own remembrancing with all his footnotes and everything. But I don't know. I just, if there was a job where
And you
you
stole his copy, did you? It's not what you were just demonstrating there.
no, that's a published copy with his own annotations that anyone can.
Oh, right.
But if there was a job where you literally just got to interview authors or creators of, or even other interviewers or streamers, and just show them to the world and get those people on that enthusiasm train, that would be. This people's brains are beautiful. Sorry, I sound like such a
and
hippie.
it's interesting to hear from other people. You think like you're talking about nerd space in general. You know,
Yeah.
it's so much more. I honestly think that show, The Big Bang Theory, has done a lot for it in terms of just mainstreaming it.
Opening it up, yeah.
Yeah, just making people, and it's got all of its Dungeons and Dragons references, but it does stick on the more tend to go for the superhero thing because it's more in the public domain. But I think it's just made the whole topic more comfortable. I don't like it too much. I want to be in my niche. I want people to think I'm odd. I work at it, you know. But no, I think it's made it a lot more mainstream and so forth.
Yeah.
But you start to talk to people, say, yeah, but we're definitely not all into the same things. I mean, like your picks in Star Trek were terrible. You know, he's obviously a woman singularly without taste of any type.
Will Wheaton was in The Big Bang Theory.
Right, yeah, exactly. Will Wheaton, what is wrong with you? It's just, you've even got a story to back up your incredulous views. Shocking.
But listen, let's talk about that, because nerd space essentially to me means people who want to go on flights of fantasy and go off into their imaginations into other worlds and other landscapes where wonderful things can happen and horrible things can happen, but it's using our imagination to build other worlds. That should be seeping through everything, because you know so much is given to us, and to be able to be creative with your friends or through watching stuff that takes you away, I think it's only good. I know that superhero movies are like, oh, everyone's finished, but it means adults can be like more childlike for longer. And I don't know, I'm controversial, but
Or as Thomas says, Bazinga.
Thomas Bazinga, that is my Thomas and I used to date we used to live together about 1,000,000 years ago.
Oh, really?
Bazinga, yeah, and his nickname is Moomin. He's a lovely lad.
Moomin. That was not a good show.
I love Moomins, Moomins, tribbles, unicorns. If you
I'm beginning to regret this interview, man. I feel there's there's dark corners of our hobby, and there you are in that dust-filled, spider-infested space.
You and I shared a studio. There'd be like a strip down and I would have like all pink clouds. You'd have one Titan, and you would have God knows what. You'd have Tom Baker and Tom Pertwee jumping out.
A full man-sized John Pertwee.
Yes.
Like was it Michael Jackson? I get a waxwork of him. Beautiful.
I have to say, I used to be in a band with a friend who went, and he loved Iron Maiden.
Right.
My friend Kevin loved Iron Maiden, and a mutual friend of ours got to go to Ian Dickinson's house, and we were like, oh my god. And my friend Kevin went, what was his house like? Was it a big castle and there was a moat and you went in and there's like thunder effects? And they went, oh no, he's got a nice normal house, but he had a Dalek in the lobby. And I was like, oh my God, Ian Dickinson had a Dalek in the lobby. And my friend Kevin was disgusted. He was like, I see him as this rock and roll heavy metal.
Is that you just destroyed the image of me?
Ruined it.
I love that there's all different, and there's so much more out there to discover, isn't there?
Yeah, completely. You're going to turn me on to loads of stuff I haven't seen. You know, like whenever we talk about this, I'm going to give Babylon 5 another go. You know, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So the final thing, one of the show of yours, because as I said, we only met like last week.
Yeah.
I did have a bit of a look, and I've enjoyed the interviews. The thing I enjoyed the most is your Dune movie reviews.
Yeah.
You did with a lady who seems to be a professional reviewer. Written a couple of books herself, but there's an obvious chemistry. You're obviously old friends. So you talk quite frankly. But it's a quite, what I liked about it, right? If I'm being brutally honest, is it was like a very genuine and earnest chat that you don't get the kind of comfort with sharing your views where they may be different,
Yeah.
unless you know somebody especially well, and
Yeah.
you're more willing to push kind of more dangerous. Like, to be honest, I think that was a bit crap,
Yeah.
those bits, and that being able to say that from a position of love
Yeah.
with someone where you know that that's safe. So I really enjoy, because you've done both. You've reviewed both movies now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to get her on to talk to me about Fallout, but Kim Taylor Foster is her name. She's written a book on Die Hard. She's written a book on The Matrix. She interviews Bill Murray, Keanu Reeves. She interviewed all the cast of Rebel Moon. She's interviewed she is a professional journo. She comes onto my channel and we just talk crap about June and Sting in Underpants and David Lynch and
Yeah, because you quite like the David Lynch film.
I love Kyle MacLachlan. I love David Lynch. Some of his stuff I can't watch because I'm very squeamish, but Twin Peaks was very formative for me when I was young. I love Kyle MacLachlan. I love his eccentricity and, just come off the beaten track. And I would never have ever appreciated film that wasn't mainstream. The new
Yeah,
Twin Peaks, I find.
I just don't know where they found the kind of costume designer for that show. What did he just finish Brazil and was like, yeah, we'll have all that stuff. Come on, bring it on. He's just mad.
Yeah, but that's it. It's these people that create. Where does it come from? Like, how do you get that think in your brain? Like,
With David Lynch, it's a lot
yeah.
of coke. I think a lot of coke.
Well, the 80s were full of it, weren't they? But also,
That's what I'm told. I was young. I don't know, but that's what I believe. Yeah.
I went to university in North London in the era of Britpop, so I know too much. But yeah, but I don't think anyone who took a lot of coke back then that I knew could ever create anything.
Right.
But
Right.
no,
They didn't have as good a soundtrack. It
No.
running to my mind while they were doing that.
no.
I don't know. Original. Subs is a big fan of the
Yeah.
David Lynch.
I mean, when you look back on it now,
Dreadful. What you're looking for?
But where will you see that kind of imagination on a big screen? And when you look at the Villeneuve stuff, he's so influenced by what's come before. But
Yeah.
but the theme song thing, when I did the theme song for me and Kim, I really wanted to get a good one because Kim can be she's very discerning and she's a proper
She's
journo.
a smooth operator. She's slick, that girl.
I was really worried about it, but one of the joyous things about Kim is she's known me since I was 11, and I was a bit of I was a brat, and I was a bit of as we all are in our 20s. I was just not the best of people. I caused a lot of problems, and she was just so lovely and supportive. So she had no qualms about coming on my channel, and I was thinking, I'm going to really devalue your professionalism, but it's just like when you work with your buddies. Lynch's Baron Harkonnen still haunts my dreams along with Sting's pants. Lucky for you dreaming about Sting's pants. I should be so lucky.
It's the farting Baron was just part of the ludicrousness of it all. He wasn't sinister. He was just
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I just bring on the weird and wonderful.
Bring it on weird, yeah. I mean, I suppose it was alien. It was. These are not like people that we recognize in a near future scenario.
What was your favorite aspect of the new movies?
My favorite aspect of the new movie, I did like the Dragonfly Ornithopters. Yeah. They're not quite true to the novels, but they looked fantastic.
So cool, yeah.
They were pretty cool. Whereas I think stuff like that was a bit more naff in the David Lynch movie.
Yeah.
It's like it felt like they used cut scenes from Lawrence of Arabia or something when I go visit a harvester.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised at how small a part it felt Jason Momoa had. I mean, Duncan, Idaho is really important, not just to this story, but to the whole of the. Because June goes on and on and on and on and on and on and weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
Duncan Idaho is the indestructible, keeps coming back guy. Even though we definitely was dead, he's definitely back, and it's the same guy.
He will return in part 3. And actually, I felt the acting of many of those people I've seen in individual movies was really elevated by them being together. I did have a bit of an issue with Zendaya because I think the part was quite difficult, but I just, I mean, we're blessed. I mean, remember back in the day where you had like one sci-fi thing on a week, you know,
I
and
think
now
it's Star
we've got,
Trek just
yeah,
before you went to the Boy Scouts. Yeah,
yeah,
that was me. That was me.
yeah.
No, you had Lost in Space on Sunday.
Oh my God, that was
Danger, Will Robinson!
oh,
Danger!
yes. But I hate shows like that. You know, Dr. Smith. If there's a show with a baddie like Dr. Smith that's sabotaging them the whole time, it makes me so tense. I hate it. But I found that Land of the Giants and Lost in Space quite dull, but I still watched it. Oh,
They were quite dull, but they were sci-fi, but they were quite dull.
do you
Yeah.
remember the robot in Robbie, the robot? He was in the Black Hole movie and he was a
Yeah.
real baddie. He was called Maximilian.
Yes,
And that
yes,
movie,
in that Disney sci-fi, The Black Hole.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite sci-fi classic movies.
Is it?
Yeah, the soundtrack and everything, and yeah, I don't know. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm overexcited. I just
Not like Kroll. No,
oh my God, Hawk the Slayer.
Hawk the Slayer.
Slayer.
Machine gun crossbows and everything.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Conan. Jack Palance is just so dreadfully over the top and ham in that movie.
But
You
they
have
wasn't
not watched
us.
Hawk the Slayer. I watched it recently
Did you?
because I'd somehow missed it. And it'd
Did
come up in
you?
conversation. I was
Oh,
like,
yes.
okay, I've got to watch this now. So I watched this within the past 18 months. It is a thing of beauty.
Isn't
To watch
it?
how narrow stuff can
But
be.
it was one of the like it's one of the things we had. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
what else was there? Krull, of course. I'll never forget Legend, in which Tim Curry plays an angry demon, and and you know there's a unicorn, and Tom Cruise is all sparkly. I mean, those classic fantasy sci-fi movies. Oh, The Never-Ending Story, Lady Hawk.
Definitely canon.
Yes. Sorry, I'm overexcited. I could talk to you for like days.
Well, no, we should have wound up a few minutes ago. We'll definitely do that. My Never-Ending Story. I hate that movie because in my middle school, at the end of term, we were all taken to a lecture hall for the last lesson of the day to watch a movie.
Yeah.
And it was always that movie.
Oh, overexposure.
Massive overexposure.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
this is like the
tough.
last thing you do this year is watch this 3-hour-long movie again with the flappy, floaty dog.
The Luck Dragon.
Many times. Yeah. And you weren't even allowed to fall asleep in a lecture hall at school. Mira, it's been great having you on. I'm sure we could chat all night. I'm sorry I didn't get to keep up with all of the chat. I don't know what I was supposed to take back, but I'm enough of a opinionated prick to not do so. Probably it was my criticism of David Lynch's just shockingly garish interpretation of Dune. I think if they did a black and white version of it, I might be able to cope with it better. Dark Crystal, legend of a film.
Really
So much good stuff. We were born clearly in the best era, Mirror, when things were transitioning from the trashy stuff from the 60s, which we could still enjoy, and the more modern stuff. I think the folks in the chat have really enjoyed having you here. It's obviously it'd be good. Do you want to just remind them where they can find you on the internet?
I'm so mad when you make me big. Hello, everybody. Yes, if you go to my YouTube page, look, I've gone all shy because you're not in the screen. It's just Mira Manga, Mira Manga, all one word. Yeah, I have a very low self. Yay, there we go. That's much better.
No, that's the wrong way around.
Let me do my little voice.
I was trying to deal with your self-consciousness, but it's not going to work.
Yeah, as you can all tell, I have very low self-esteem. So likes and subscribes make me feel like a better human. And yeah, thank you everybody in the chat for your wonderful, funny comments. And I'm just so grateful that you had me here today because, again, I had a very tough day and you've lifted my spirits. I hope we get to do lots and lots of stuff together with our charity or whatever we do. And I'm a firm subscriber to your channel now.
There you go. And as I say, my top picks for Mirror stuff is to go back. We've got long ways now. Then you have to work out exactly where you are in the middle of it. It's really simple
Yay, there
software.
we
This, and I
go.
still get it wrong. But now, if you think I'm rubbish at this, go watch Mira because she uses OBS, and it is a lot harder than this stuff to use.
I need help. Or maybe I need to come around your house. You could teach me.
No, I'm not using OBS because it's too hard.
What are you using?
I'm using StreamYard. It's so much simpler. Then
Oh.
anyway, yeah, it was great, guys. Check the stuff out. As I say, I'd recommend the interviews of some really interesting people on there, and the nostalgia trip of watching somebody play for real. And I would say, Mira, you read the stories quite well. You realize the joke just after the viewers, which is always fun to listen to, all that kind of stuff. And you don't even cheat. You do actually die and have to start again sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Right. So enjoy that. In a couple of weeks, we have got Dwayne from Plastic Crack, the Battletech Irish guy. And we're going to talk about giant robots hitting each other, which is the only way to do it because melee combat is the correct form of combat from a mecha. Bye-bye, folks.
Thank you. Bye.